Hello, welcome to Meaningful Careers, the hub of insights, information, and education for all things careers. My name is Pardon Pagua, and I will be sharing with you key information, whether you're an employee, a student, a job seeker, an employer, or a business person, or you just want to further your career, then this is the platform for you. If you have worked with me in the past episodes, you will realize that this is a blueprint series for interviews. So in this last episode, I just want to get a bit more practical, share with you some tricky questions that I've come across from a panel member's perspective that I've seen candidates struggle to articulate. So that's the focus of the next episode, which should be the last episode of this series. I hope you enjoy and see you in the next videos.
Meaningful careers, meaningful careers now. Take the time to take your destiny in your hands now. With meaningful careers.
Welcome to the final episode. Now we want to tackle those tricky questions that candidates are usually caught off guard by. So what I'm not going to do, unfortunately, is to give you the answers to the questions. Now, that's not helpful. Instead, what I'll do is I'll give you the skill to answer the questions. Because the danger with giving you answers is that if a question comes in a different way, packaged differently, you may not know how to detect which question it is and what's required. So I would rather give you a skill to answer the interview questions. Let's start off with behavior-based questions. So I'll just touch briefly on different types of interviews. It's not going to be very comprehensive, but just 2 types of questions per interview type. Try to show you what's required and what is it that you can expect. Okay, so we start with the first one. On the behavioral questions, you can find a question around, tell me of a time that you failed. Right, that question, obviously the STAR model applies straight away because you are explaining a situation. You are giving them what was your task, what was the action, or what were the actions that you took, and what were the results. Obviously, in this case, you are saying you failed, but what they are not interested in is your failure, but the fact that you show that you learn lessons from failing. Any failure is an opportunity to learn, is an opportunity to refocus, to reflect, and to show resilience. All right, so that's what they are looking for. So instead of focusing so much on your failure, you need to focus more on you rising up, on you recovering, and showing that you learned any lessons in that situation. All right, so that's one typical example that is usually difficult. So don't end up just talking about the failures. You can nail the explanations about the failures, but that's not what they are looking for. They are looking for whether or not you learned any lessons from that. A question around, okay, tell us of when you had a conflict with a colleague or a customer. Right. Again, you can go through the STAR model or any other model to just set the scene, explain what happened, what were your actions as an individual, and maybe what was the other party's actions in that bit, and what were the results. How did the situation end? Again, the detail of the incident is not so much as important as what you take away from that or how you package it. Right, so here they are obviously trying to look at things like, are you a person who is accountable, who takes accountability of their own wrongdoings, or do you just blame others? For example, in this case where you had a disagreement, did you show emotional intelligence, any remorse, resolution, or even reflection? Do you then reflect back to say, oh, based on that situation, I think what could be done differently was this and that, and so forth. So more like the previous question, where they are asking a very negative question, but what they are looking for is how do you handle such situations, but also what else can you take away from such a situation. Now the next one is around competence-based questions. Competence-based questions, you can have a question around maybe describe a decision that you made that was unpopular and how did you manage the resistance or the pushback. Again, it's not so much in the decision. Yes, it's important to explain, articulate the decision, pitch it at the right level, pitch it as a decision in the relevant space. If it's you would obviously want to give a professional kind of decision that you made, not just some random decision which is not relevant to the job at question. All right, so something that's relevant, something that's at the right scale, at the right level. You give your situation, your task, your activity, and what was the result. What they want to see here is your leadership, your maturity, your ability to communicate. How can you influence others? How can you get buy-in? How do you stand by your decision? Can you withstand any pushback? How resilient are you professionally? All right, another question around, which is another interesting one. Tell me about the time when you had to deliver results without having full authority. Right. You had to deliver results without having full authority. Again, you give the whole vibe, STAR, situation, task, activity, and results, at the right level, relevant, and with the right results. Okay. But then what they are trying to look for here is your ability to influence, to collaborate, to negotiate, ability to get things done when power is not in your hands. Right? How do you work through others, and how do you work with others? And relationships. Are you one person who can create relationships? How do you persuade others in a difficult space like that? How do you work with others to deliver despite the constraints? Because the result at the end of the day is also very important, as much as how you got the result. All right, let's move on to maybe if you find a case or a problem scenario. You can be asked, okay, your client has lost 50 million, fix it. Where do you start? Right, if you followed in the previous videos where I spoke about the models and thinking professionally and thinking on your feet in the interview, this is where the models can work. Because, okay, your client has lost 50 million. Where do we start? They want to check your logic in terms of problem solving, isn't it? How do you start by analyzing a situation? Then what are the options and what is the way forward? So you can use your SWOT analysis, you can use your PESTLE analysis to break it down logically. They want to see the logic in your analysis of the situation. All right. Then you can have another question around, say your nephew is only sold 2 cups of lemonade. What should they do? Right. And you know that maybe your nephew has a certain target. They can expand to say, oh, your nephew has this target of 20 or 50 or 500, but he has only managed to sell 2 units. How do they fix it? Again, the model-based thinking kind of, you can think about, okay, this is around marketing, this is around, that's where you throw in maybe the 5 P's of marketing. Right, you can then say, okay, they need to reconsider the price. They need to reconsider the place where they are selling it. They need to consider the product, their marketing strategy, and so forth. So again, it's just about your logic. How do you logically get to approach a situation? So those models will help you to appear smart in the instance. Yeah. Then the next set is maybe your depth questions. Somebody asks you about yourself. Walk me through your life. Again, they just want to feel about your past, your present, and the future. But the idea is also in your self-awareness. Do you have it? Are you able to pinpoint at your past and attribute your present situation to anything that happened in the past? If the past was positive, are you acknowledging it? As an example, if the past was so negative, have you learned lessons from it? So what are you going to do in the future? Is it to protect the legacy of the good past? Is it to refocus, change direction because of a negative past, which has resulted in a miserable present? That's entirely up to you. But the idea is to see, can you think through this? So even when they start probing, also, okay, how did you grow up? So this and this. So where did you learn? So do you think this environment was okay? Do you think, all those kind of questions that they may be asking you, you need to be showing that you are thinking through this past, present, and the future. Then you can be asked, what KPIs can you use to measure your team? Now that's very much relative to your profession. If I am an HR person, then I would think of, okay, what are the key metrics in HR? All right, to show the output, the quality, the efficiency, and the engagement. I can then talk about, okay, for engagement, I'm looking at employee engagement score. If it's performance management, I'm talking of the wider performance management score, meeting the organization-wide objectives. Recruitment, the number of vacancies filled. If it's about staff retention, you can then talk about all the key metrics. How much staff turnover do we have? How many successful hires do we have? how many promotions do we have, staff movement, etc. So there is quite a lot, but that depends on the profession or the job at hand. But at the same time, that's also determined by the level at which you are approaching. If you are approaching this at entry level, there isn't much. It's pretty much operational. How many cases do you close, etc. If you're at managerial level, there is a bit of leadership. How are your teams performing and delivering? If you are at the strategic or senior leadership level, now is how is the organization performing as well. So you need to think through in relation to your profession, in relation to your level. You can have stress interview questions, right? Then they can ask you, why should we hire you? They are your strengths, they are your achievements, they are your knowledge, your skills, your abilities. Is there that clear alignment? Can you articulate why you are different from the other candidate? Of course, the other candidate, you can have all the same job titles, the same roles and responsibilities. But what differentiates you from the next candidate? Always remember this from the other video. Check the link in the chat, in the comments if you want to refresh. But you should always know there is your knowledge, your skills, your ability, your achievements, your attitude, more than even your aptitude. These differentiate you from other people because these are unique to you. The skills that you have, these are unique to you. They can also say, you don't have enough experience, so why should we consider you for this job? Again, the idea is to check if you can think outside the box. If you can demonstrate that your skills are transferable, you can demonstrate that you are a quick learner, then you give examples that would help you as an example. So I'll give a quick example here. Say I'm the HR person who wants to get into the marketing field, and they're like, no, you don't have customer management or customer service skills. I'll be like, hold on, I've got all the customer service skills that you can think of, and these are coming from my HR experience, and tell you what, these are transferable. I'll give an example. In marketing or sales, you say you have your customers, right? In my case, the customers are the employees. They are just internal. That's the difference. Okay, in your marketing, you say, okay, there's acquisition of new customers. In my space, I'm like, there's talent acquisition, recruitment, number of vacancies filled, getting new people to join in the organization. In your space, you're like, oh, okay, there's customer satisfaction. In my HR argument, I'll be like, oh, there's also employee satisfaction and employee engagement. So I've got those skills. Right? So do you see how you can then argue to then show that, okay, my skills are transferable? Right. I hope this helps. So that is it really in terms of this series. I'm hoping that you have taken something out of this. I'm really hoping that you make it in your next interview. I'm really hoping that you will be a success in your career. But if you think, oh, I might have missed something, or I still have got a few questions around maybe the whole interview bits or the CVs and anything, I want something to clarify, feel free to reach out, send us an email. You see the details on the screen. Send us a message on WhatsApp, call us. We are happy to help you get that fulfilling and purposeful work. That's why we are there as Meaningful Careers. So all the best. Let us know if this content resonates with you. Please share, like, subscribe. Put in the comments if you need any more content of this nature, or if there's anything else that you would want to hear from us. Thank you.
Meaningful careers, meaningful careers now. Take the time to take your destiny in your hands now. With meaningful careers.